You're lucky we're not firing you, Aaron. Be grateful you still have a desk after that stunt. That's what my boss told me the morning after I closed a $1.25 billion deal. A deal that made him a hero in the boardroom. By noon, I was demoted. My salary slashed in half. Humiliated, gutted, and broke. But he had no idea the storm he'd just unleashed. Before I tell you how I went from betrayed to victorious, how I made them pay dearly, subscribe to Lawful Payback and comment where you're watching from. This one's personal. My name's Aaron Keller, 38, from Columbus, Ohio. For 11 years, I worked as a senior procurement manager for one of the biggest aviation logistics firms in the Midwest. I showed up early, left late, and built my life around that job. My wife and I had 2 kids, a mortgage, and my father's medical bills hanging over us. Overtime wasn't extra. It was survival. When the company signed its biggest contract ever, 5 luxury business jets worth $1.25 billion, I negotiated every clause, every figure. The CEO called me the backbone of the deal. A week later, that same CEO, Victor Halden, stood in front of my team and restructured my position. He said the company was realigning priorities and that my pay scale no longer matched performance expectations. They cut my salary by 55%. I went from running procurement to chasing paperwork in the corner of a warehouse office. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation, slow, deliberate, and cruel. Every day, I watched them celebrate my work in meetings I wasn't invited to. My name vanished from the project reports, replaced by Victor's. After my demotion, things only got worse. Victor slashed overtime across the department, claiming budget constraints. Suddenly, my paychecks were hundreds of dollars lighter. When I checked payroll, I noticed missing hours, entire weekends gone. I went to HR and they brushed me off. That's just how payroll calculates overtime now, they said. System adjustments. Everyone's affected, but everyone wasn't struggling to keep their home. Every missed hour meant another overdue bill, another debt collector. Call. My wife, Emily, started taking extra shifts at the clinic. My son's tuition payments fell behind. Nights turned into silent dinners and longer hours in the garage, pretending to work late. The man who once shook my hand in front of shareholders now avoided eye contact in hallways. My coworkers looked away too, not out of malice but fear. In that office, one wrong look could cost you your job. 3 months later, foreclosure letters started arriving. My savings vanished. I thought about quitting, about walking away before I drowned completely. But something inside refused. Maybe pride. Maybe rage. Maybe just the memory of 11 loyal years thrown in the trash. I started digging. I stayed late after shifts, cleaning out files, checking archives, reviewing payroll statements. And one night, around 2 a.m., buried in an old HR folder, I found it. The first crack in their perfect lie. It started with one document, an internal payroll memo, dated 6 months earlier. The note showed a directive to reclassify overtime entries to reduce payout exposure. At first, I didn't believe it. I cross-checked time cards, comparing mine to archived records. The pattern was unmistakable. Deliberate manipulation. The company wasn't adjusting systems. They were illegally withholding overtime from dozens of employees. I felt my hands shaking. Fear, anger, disbelief, all mixed together. What if I got caught looking through this? What if they fired me? Or worse, sued me for data theft? Then I thought of my father's medical bills, my kids' tuition, my wife's quiet tears when she thought I was asleep. No, I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. That night, I copied every record, payroll emails, directives, spreadsheets. I left with a flash drive full of proof that could sink the company. I didn't sleep. I stared at my ceiling until sunrise, heart pounding. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I drove downtown and walked into a small law office with flickering lights and old carpet. A nameplate read, Mara Jennings, Employment Law Specialist. She looked over the files, frowned, and said just one thing. Aaron, you might have just uncovered corporate fraud. We filed the lawsuit. The company unleashed its legal army, 3 major firms, all on retainer. Their lawyers tried to bury us under motions and technicalities. In court, Victor acted calm and smug, calling the claims disgruntled employee fiction. The judge seemed skeptical, old school, cautious, maybe even cynical. Every hearing felt like another nail in my coffin. My wife wanted to settle. My friends said it wasn't worth it. But I couldn't. Not after everything I'd seen. I couldn't teach my kids that silence was safer than truth. They tried everything. Character attacks, forged performance reviews, even emails painting me as unstable. My career was already in ashes. I had nothing left to lose. Then, weeks into the trial, something incredible happened. A former colleague, Tara Lewis, came forward. She'd worked in payroll, and she'd seen Victor's emails firsthand. She agreed to testify, even knowing what it might cost her. Her testimony cracked the case open. She confirmed that management had been instructed to reduce overtime payouts manually to keep investors happy. The company still denied it, of course. Their lawyer sneered, calling it hearsay. That's when Mara stood up, calm and steady, and dropped the hammer. A printed chain of emails from Victor himself, ordering payroll to reformat timesheets and cut costs by any means necessary. The courtroom went dead silent. Even the stenographer stopped typing. The judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The tide turned in an instant. Victor took the stand, smirking like the king of the world. If Aaron had just done his job, he sneered, we wouldn't be wasting the court's time. Mara didn't flinch. She handed him one of his own emails, the one with his digital signature, explicitly approving falsified payroll entries. The color drained from his face. The judge's tone shifted from polite to icy. Mr. Halden, she said, are you admitting this directive was yours? He stammered, mumbled something about miscommunication, but it was too late. The company's lawyer tried to intervene, but the damage was done. Mara presented spreadsheets showing millions withheld from employee paychecks over 3 years. Tara's testimony confirmed internal warnings ignored by leadership. The prosecution displayed a slideshow of manipulated payroll sheets. Each slide was a nail in the coffin, columns of hours cut, lines marked adjusted, initials from executives. When the judge called for closing statements, I couldn't look at Victor. The same man who cut my pay for underperformance was now trembling under oath. After 3 agonizing days of deliberation, the verdict came down. The company was found guilty of wage theft, payroll fraud, and employee retaliation. Back pay, damages, legal fees, penalties. The total, $7.4 million, including $1.2 million awarded personally to me. Victor was escorted out of court as cameras flashed. I didn't smile. I just breathed. When the judgment was read, I didn't feel joy, just relief. Years of exhaustion finally exhaled in one long breath. The company's reputation collapsed overnight. Their investors fled. Victor resigned in disgrace and vanished from the industry. Reporters called it the most expensive demotion in corporate history. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was standing up for the people still in that office, the ones who stayed silent out of fear. After the verdict, I started receiving messages from janitors, warehouse staff, even mid-level managers. They all said the same thing. Thank you for not giving up. With the settlement, I paid off our debts, my father's hospital bills, and started my own small consulting firm, helping other workers understand their rights. I named it 11 Legal Solutions, for the 11 years I gave to that company and the lesson it taught me. Sometimes justice moves slow, sometimes it crawls, but when it arrives, it's unstoppable. One careless lie destroyed them, and the truth, my truth, saved me. If you believe the truth always comes out, subscribe to Lawful Payback, because the next story will leave you stunned.